Happy Motoring comes alongside as just to head back. Down on the rail and holding third is Tijuana Taxi. Here comes Sun Sam, wheeling 3 wide and going right up to join him. Sun Sam on the far outside.
Hello, this is Bob Pandolfo. It's Friday, August 4th, 2023. Welcome to Power Brush by Pandy on my YouTube channel. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Hambletonian, which is tomorrow, Saturday, August 5th at the Meadowlands. And I just want to show you, for those of you who don't know, I mean, my selections have been on the United States Trotting Association, my Meadowlands selections, since 1996. So here's how you would get them. You go to ustrotting.com, as you can see right here. You click on handicapping. Well, you actually put your cursor there. And then you'll see, you scroll down to pandicapping, and it goes to this page. And right here it says free Meadowlands selections. You can also see it over here, free Meadowlands selections. You click on that, and then you see all the different dates. And if you click on, August 5th, which is the Hambletonian card, you can get my pick 4 selections here, or as it says here, to view Pandy's picks, click here, and then you're going to see all of my comments and my selections for Saturday, August 5th at the Meadowlands. So it's a good card, as you would expect. We're going to go right down to the Meadowlands page. Now I will put a link on my YouTube page for where you can find these picks. But let's look at the Hambletonian, which is the 12th race. So this year, there are no standouts that I can see. It's a wide open race because there hasn't been a particular 3-year-old that has dominated the division. The morning line favorite is Celebrity Bambino, and if you look at my picks here, I did not pick Celebrity Bambino, but I think he has a chance. Basically, I thought the two most obvious horses are the 4 and the 1, Winner's Bet and Celebrity Bambino, based on their recent races. But Up Your Dio has had a very good season, so I want to talk a little bit about that, because now, as reported in DRF Harness, Daily Racing Form Harness Racing, Ake Swanset, who trains the 6-horse Up Your Dio, said that there was a sickness in his barn last month. So if you notice, now for those of you who follow the Meadowlands and follow harness racing, Swanstedt was having a very good year, and he's usually very reliable in these stakes races. He's got a very good organization, and he's got his own training facility and everything. But he did go into his barn, went into sort of a slump for a week or so. And again, he said that he couldn't train the horses the way he normally does because there was an illness going through the barn. So Up Your Dio, who had been racing very well, as you can see here, I'll show you. Look over the past performance lines. You can see that he had won the MGM Trot at Yonkers in 153 and 3. He had come back as a 3-year-old and won 3 of his first 4 starts, and then in the Hamblet elimination, he just kind of went evenly. But again, that could have been partly because of the illness in the barn, and he was coming off quite a bit of a layoff there too, of about a month. So I expect him to be sharper, and I think he has a chance. I don't think the 15-1 morning line, I don't think that's realistic. Now, for those of you who don't know about my selections, I put my own odds line on my top 4 contenders in each race. Now, I am not trying to predict the actual betting odds. With the morning line, what the morning line maker is supposed to do is he or she is supposed to make horses the odds that he thinks that the public will bet them down to, the actual post-time odds. What I do is I assign odds based on what I think the horse's chances are. And as you can see here, I don't have any horse as a dominant horse on the odds. In fact, I made Winner's Bet and Celebrity Bambino both 5-2 odds. So now let's look over. We'll start with the favorite, the morning line favorite, who I think will be the betting favorite. Will be Celebrity Bambino. So Celebrity Bambino came back this year and over here, and he was racing okay. His first 3 starts, not great. Then he got a good trip in the Reynolds over here, and he won off a pocket trip. Then in the Dancer, he just raced off the pace, raced okay. And then in his elimination, he went wire to wire. So now a lot of people, I think are going to think, oh wow, he's really good now, and he's going to get bet down. I think he's going to get bet too heavily. I don't think any horse should be like 6-5 in this field. I really don't. Now let's look at this race. So he went to the lead, and he went to the lead in 27-4. That's not that fast. Then the half was, okay, 55-3. It's not slow, it's not fast. But the way this race set up, if you watch the replay or if you watch the race, nobody challenged him at any point in this race. I mean, he got some pressure to the quarter, which wasn't that fast, as I mentioned. And then, he just set his own pace, and he was able to relax on the lead. He had a clear lead all the way. So, and then he had a lot left at the end, but if, he should have a lot left because, nobody challenged him. So, he's a nice colt. It could be that, he's back in top form now, and he was a nice 2-year-old, and he could be tough to beat. Gingrich, who is one of my favorites, hasn't won a Hambletonian, which is a little surprising, so this is a good shot for him. And of course, the Burke Barn is always tough. But I would not think this horse was a good bet at a really short price, like 6-5, 7-5 even. I would, and I'm going to show you one of the reasons why. First of all, there are a number of contenders in here. Oh well is a nice trotter. Now I want to mention another thing. This is also as reported on DFR Harness. Marcus Melander, the trainer, he has Oh Well in here. He has already mentioned, I think he's got like 5 or 6 horses, I believe, racing tomorrow. And he has already mentioned he's going to race them all shoeless. He's going to take the shoes off. Now, that's depending on the track condition, but it's supposed to be a clear day tomorrow. And, unless he feels the track is really hard or something like that, he's going to race these horses without shoes. Sometimes the horses do go a little faster. It depends on the horse. Obviously, he thinks that they go fast. Otherwise, he wouldn't, take the shoes off for the big races tomorrow. So, they announce the equipment changes. The announcer at the track announces them. If you're watching it on TV, like if you're, on TVG, I don't know about the telecast on Fox News, because that's going to, they haven't had it on Fox News in a while, but. On TVG, usually at the bottom of the screen, you'll see the equipment changes. I would imagine you'll see them on Fox News too. Not Fox News, but Fox Sports. It's going to be on, I don't know if it's on FS1 or FS2. I'm really not sure, but it'll be on Fox Sports from what I heard. And I imagine some of the races will also be on TVG. But anyway, Marcus Melander has announced, that he's going to race his horses without shoes. Now, I expect that other trainers would do that too. So, Swanstedt likes to race without shoes on these big days too. So, let's go down to, and now, again, there's a lot of contenders here. I think Oh Well, and, maybe even like Point of Perfect. But the horse that I really thought raced really well last week was Winner's Bet. Now, this horse was also a nice 2-year-old. You could see that he won $344,000. And what you want to see then is how do they come back as a 3-year-old? Some horses improve, some don't improve that much. It depends how precautious they were as a 2-year-old. But you can see that this horse, his first start as a 3-year-old in the Reynolds, he finished in 26-3 and he won. And he beat a nice trotter named Air Power. Then he went into the Dancer and he finished in 26-1 and he won. And you could see that he went 52-2 in his first start and then 51. So, he did get sharper, which you would expect second time off the layoff. Again, he beat a nice field here in the Dancer. I mean, basically he beat the same kind of horses he's going to be racing against today. And then in the Hambletonian elimination, he had post 10. So, basically at that point, Dexter Dunn, the driver, is just trying to make sure he finishes in the top 5 so he gets in the Hambletonian final. This horse had a tough trip here. He left from post 10. He was 3 wide part of the first turn. He never got, any cover. He had to go, race uncovered. This doesn't really, to me, this doesn't look as good as it looked when you watch the race, because he made a really nice move down the backstretch. It shows him making up 3 lanes here. I don't know, it looked to me like it was more than 3 lanes. You know, I mean, if you watch the race, probably in between calls, you know, he made up a nice piece of ground here to get within a length and a half of the leader at the half. And he held well. I mean, you know, this was a tough trip. I mean, I thought this was a tougher trip than the favorite, you know, who was able to set his own pace. This horse, Celebrity Bambino. And of course now, and Dexter Dunn, you know, didn't have to push this horse too much to make the final. So, I mean, I think this horse can go a faster race than he's gone in these 2 races. And this is a really good barn, by the way. This is the Lindy Farms, you know. So, you know, this is they're right up there. I mean, they could train trotters right up there with anyone else. You can see that Domenico Cesare has a 24% win percentage, and he's 62% the last month. So, yeah, I mean, they spent $200,000. This is a well-bred horse. They've got the sport's leading driver, and with the better post, I think that this is a horse that is the horse to beat. Now, the way I went on my line, I made him my best bet of the day. I mean, I could have made Winner's Bet and Celebrity Bambino both 2-1. You know, I made them both 5-2, trying to show the public that I think it's a wide open race. But I mean, I think Celebrity Bambino is probably going to be like 8-5, 7-5. Winner's Bet's probably going to be about 5-2. So, you know, that's what I'm expecting. But I think that these 2 horses are probably about evenly matched. I think Winner's Bet has the edge. I mean, personally, I mean, that's my gut feeling that he's the 3-year-old to beat in this field, not Celebrity Bambino. But I do think they're closely matched. But I do think Up Your Dio, if he races like he did in his prior races, you know, before his last start, you know, could upset the whole thing. I mean, he raced really well, you know, until his last start, and that was off a layoff, and there was the illness in the barn. Oh well, is a speedy trotter, but you know, he tends to tire in the late stages. But we'll see. See how the race goes. But Winner's Bet is my best bet of the day, actually, in the Hambletonian. So I'm gonna go down to another race. I'm just gonna talk about one more race. Very good card, by the way. I mean, all around. I mean, all the races are good. But an interesting race is the Cane Pace. And as you remember, you know, years ago they used to have the Cane Pace in New York, and now they run it over here at. In fact, I think they had it. They had it at a few different half-mile tracks. I think they may have. Did they have it at Freehold years ago? I don't know. I'm not sure, but I remember they had it in New York. And you know, you're gonna have it here in race number 14, right? Yeah. Now, as those of you who've been looking at my videos know that I've been high on this 3-year-old Confederate really throughout his whole career. I mean, this horse is clearly the top 3-year-old in the country. And if you looked at my other videos, like after the North American Cup, where he lost by a head, you know, I said this horse is, you know, going to win the Meadowlands Pace. I mean, this horse in this race, he just, you know, he was too far back, and he paced the last half in 52-1. I mean, for any horse, even an older, you know, free-for-all horse, that's exceptional. For a 3-year-old who's only, you know, he came into that race with like 9 starts. You know, that was a powerful race. And he raced powerfully in this loss over here last October in the Breeders' Cup, the same type of thing. Here, look at, he was 9 lengths back. I mean, so, and in the Meadowlands Pace, he just, you know, he left, he took a quick tuck, and then he just marched first over and just powered clear. So he's going to be 1-9, and I did not pick him on top, though, and I'm going to explain why. Now, some of you may know that I went on a little bit of a rant last week. In this horse, El Rey, trained by Tony Alagna, he dropped down into the Tompkins, which was a stakes race, but you know, it was a much weaker field than the Meadowlands Pace, which he had been in. And I just figured, well, you know, he's probably. I just felt he's going to go first over, and he's probably going to win this race. But what happened is the driver, Scott Zeron, who's normally a very reliable driver, he decided not to pull first over, which I thought was a really, really bad drive. He was a 9-5 favorite off a key drop, and I really thought he didn't do right by the betting public here. And I said it, and I thought he should have been fined, actually, to be honest with you. But I did pick this horse here. Now, what happened in this race, being that he didn't pull, he got totally trapped in the stretch. The horse was searching for room. He couldn't get out. He was full of pace. If he got out, he would have won. I mean, this horse was loaded with pace, and he's a very good finisher. So I know something. My instincts tell me that with the right trip, he could be sitting on an upset race. Now, of course, a lot will depend what happens with Confederate. But I mean, if you look at El Rey, he started the season, he wasn't that sharp. He was a sloppy track in his first start back. First of all, he won the Governor's Cup in his last start as a 2-year-old with a strong finish. 149, so that's a nice race for a 2-year-old with a 47-degree. This is like in November, not in the summer. So it was only a 47-degree night, and he went 149-2. That's pretty damn good. So he came back, sloppy track, he was short. Then he went over to race in the North American Cup, and he raced okay, but he wasn't that sharp. But then there was this break. Now maybe he didn't like the Mohawk track, but when he came back on July 1st, this was a good race here. As you can see, he finishes in 25-2, and he's on the outside. Now, this is a nice race. And then in the Meadowlands Space Elimination, he's only a half length behind Confederate. And he goes in 147-3. So in the Meadowlands pace, again, this is a situation. If these horses are this far back, they're not going to, in a race that goes in 147, you're not going to rally from 9th. So he never really had a chance because they don't want he's the type of horse they don't seem to want to leave with him. I guess they don't think that he's best, racing on the front end, or maybe he doesn't have quick gate speed, whatever. So then I talked about the Tompkins where he was blocked full of pace. So, for this horse to have a chance at a price here, it's going to take some bad luck, some good luck, but bad luck on the part of Confederate. So let's look at Confederate, something, you have to realize that, all right, Confederate has 9 wins and 12 starts. His first start, he lost, but that was sort of like a prep race. But since then, he's won 9 out of 11, and the 2 losses were into 2 huge stakes races, the North American Cup and the Breeders' Crown. Both times he lost, not because he wasn't the best horse, but because he was too far back. He could get into that situation here because, he has post 5. He had post 5 last week, and you could see that he wasn't far back. But that was, not last week, but on July 15th in his last start in the Meadowlands Pace. But a lot depends on how the race flow goes early. If you get some outside levers to cross over, the next thing every time a horse makes the lead, like if 3-4 horses go to the lead, the next thing instead of being 4th or 5th, he could be 7th or 8th, and which is what happened in some of these other races. Here he had post 3 in the Breeders' Crown, and he ended up 8th, because horses crossed over in front of him, and next thing he was in no man's land. He just wasn't going to win. So if he gets the trip where he's close up, he's going to be very, very tough to beat. This is a horse, he's not a real big horse. He doesn't have the smoothest gait, as I mentioned in my comments, and maybe that's why they don't leave with him. They left with him here in the North American Cup elimination, but that wasn't a very good field. It looks like they might be they might want to race him off the pace, but maybe they don't think that, he's that quick. He is a little, like I said, he doesn't have the smoothest gait. He's a grinder, Now, that being said, they may just leave here. If I own the horse, I'd prefer to leave it, I can't see getting stuck behind weak cover when you have the best horse. The best thing to do is leave. This way, even if the horse gets a tough trip, at least that he's not in an impossible spot. You put him out there, he's the best horse. If he sets a fast pace and loses by a nose, that's better than, getting stuck 8th behind a wall of horses and having to circle the field, which is almost impossible to do. These races, in these fast races, if you're more than 4 or 5 lanes back, like at the half, it's almost impossible to win. Nowadays, this isn't like years ago. But anyway, if he gets a trip like this, I mean, he's going to probably pounce here and just, beat this field easily. But I mean, if he gets shuffled back a little bit, I mean, he could be had. That's his Achilles heel. I mean, he did lose 2 races where he was much the best, in 2 big races. But I do like the horse a lot. But I don't know. I just had a sneaky suspicion that El Rey is sitting on a really good race. He's fast enough. I mean, I don't know if he doesn't have a lot of power, maybe, as far as gutting it out first over. Although he has raced 3 times without cover in his career, and he won 2 of them. But not against this caliber horse. But I mean, you could see that this horse can, I mean, he's a pretty fast horse. So you can see this 25-2 for last quarter. This was a good race. I expect that Christchurch will probably gun to the lead here. This is a quick horse, so I picked El Rey, El Confederate, Christchurch, and Hungry Angel Boy from the 2nd tier. As far as the track conditions, it's going to be a clear day. I know, a lot of people think there's going to be speed favoring, because it's daytime, and something. Harness racing is speed favoring now, but the Meadowlands does a really good job. They fit, like I was at the Hambletonian the last 5 years. I didn't see the track as being speed favoring. I actually thought it was a little tiring last year. They do a really good job of keeping enough cushion in it because they know, first of all, it's good for the horses, and the trainers like that when there's some cushion in the track, so it's easier on the horse's legs. But also, you get a better race. If you make the track too hard and speed favoring, it just makes the races, not as exciting. You don't want wire to wire every race. And last year, I mean, the track was kind of tiring. And there were a few horses that I thought would hold on that, they got leg weary in deep stretch. And the fractions weren't that intense in some of the situations I'm talking about. But anyway, it's going to be an exciting day. Meadowlands is a great facility to watch the races, and now it's going to be on TV. Like I said, I'm pretty sure Fox Sports. I don't know if it's FS1 or FS2, and I don't know if it's on TVG, but I'm pretty sure that some of the races will be on TVG. But I'll put the link on the bottom of this YouTube video, for my picks, which are there, every time the Meadowlands races. And make sure you click, subscribe to my channel. It's free. I mean, that makes it better for me to keep producing these videos. And thanks for watching Power Pace. Enjoy the Hambletonian.